Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. This is episode 135 for the week of August 1st, 2021. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined by Will, who I don't have a nickname for again this week. I'm sorry.
How are you, Drew?
Man, honestly, I'm doing all right, man. I'm in good spirits. It's been a weird day, but I'm looking forward to trying this out on Twitch again. We've once again hoping for the best with our technical issues, and it was kind of a last minute call to go live, but here we are.
Yeah, hopefully it stays stable, man. It's been quite a headache for us, and we're hoping to get it resolved somewhat soon.
I hope so, man. I tried clearing some stuff on my end that I haven't done before, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if this is going to work or not. We may just have to burn the computers to the ground or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's an idea. I don't know if it's a great idea, but it would get me a new iMac or a Mac Mini for that matter.
I like it. Anything that gets you a new Mac is good by me.
Oh, yeah. I want that Mac Mini so bad.
Yeah. How are you doing, man?
And then I want to get a really wide monitor to go with it.
Oh, like one of those like curved ones, or you want like flat screen?
Probably flat, but there's a couple people at work that have a really wide monitor. I mean, I don't know how wide it is, but it would be really good for music production because I would be able to just see more, and it's almost like having two monitors, but just in one.
Right. Yeah, it's nice having the extra real estate, man. Trust me, it's a beautiful thing. So I personally prefer having separate monitors than opposed, to just having one large one. Hi, Metro, you little son of a bitch.
Oh no, Metro has returned.
All right.
Boot him out.
So this morning I sat down to work on some editing for the Patreon, and not less than a minute from when I sat down at this computer was he on this desk. 1 minute. It's
oh my God.
It's adorable and infuriating at the same time. I don't know what to do, man. I love the cat, but it's too hot to close the door. So, I don't know.
I don't think there's anything you really can do, and it's really for that reason, is that you don't have an AC unit in that room.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that eventually we're going to have, but I don't know when. Certainly not this year.
Yeah. I mean, summer it's not over, but we're probably only going to get maybe a month and a half more.
I don't know about that.
You think less?
No, I think more. We usually get August pretty hot, and then September we'll have some ebbs and flows, but there's always a week in October that's like brutal, just out of nowhere. It's just like, hey,
this is true, man.
It's October. fuck you, 95 degrees for a week. And then it's
Yeah, man, that's the most interesting thing about living in Connecticut. You and I know best that the weather is some of the most unpredictable weather I've ever seen ever.
it really is. Anyway.
But
Well,
to answer your question, I am well. I am well for a Monday. I mean, it's been a bit of a Monday, but outside of that, I really can't complain.
well, that's good to hear, man. We had quite a weekend, and I want to dive into that shortly. But let's get our plugs out of the way first, and then we'll get going, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So we are Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You can find us on the web at www.wdgrpodcast.com. Of course, we're also available on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at WDGR Podcast. We have a YouTube channel where you can find clips and highlights of this very show anytime you like. Of course, if you'd like to follow us individually on social media, Will, how can they find you?
SoundCloud.com/Will_gear.
And you can find me on Twitter at ScionStorm. And we also have a Patreon, patreon.com/WDGR podcast. We just posted our newest episode this morning talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie from 1993. So if you dig that movie, check it out. Swing on by our Patreon and sign on up for it. $5 a month. So, yeah, man, quite a weekend.
Quite a weekend indeed.
What did we do?
We went to our good friend Vic's wedding. It was more of a reception, I guess, if you will, because they did get married last year during COVID, but this was, really the wedding that they envisioned. And yeah, it happened this Saturday, and it was pretty spectacular, man. I had a great time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We got to be surrounded by some of our best friends, watch the two of them renew their vows. It was a beach wedding in Long Island. Absolutely gorgeous spot. I had never been there before. I think this place imported palm trees. I don't think these palm trees were native to Long
That's a good point. I didn't even think about it because at that point that we were taking photos over by them, I already was deep into my second drink. So I was not thinking about, well, hang on a second, we're in Long Island. And yes, we're on a beach, but how are there palm trees here? Because typically they're only in Florida or some tropical environment.
Yeah. And, man, it was a great time. We couldn't have asked for better weather. We couldn't have asked for better memes to come from the event either.
Oh my God.
As Advent Portal just mentioned in the chat, there were some great meme pics. Yeah, I don't know what was happening over there with me, but I had my share of rum and cokes. They were essentially bottomless, and I kept drinking them. So,
yeah, the drinks were pretty strong, man. I couldn't complain.
Yeah, they were no joke.
Most places they're weak, and you're just having to knock back 8 of them to feel anything.
Yeah, no, these guys were pretty liberal with the pours, so I appreciated that, and it was a good time, man. Lots of dancing.
Lots of dancing.
I got to see you and Lauren cutting a rug out there, busting a move.
Oh yeah, we typically do, man. And I'm not, that much of a dancer, but Lauren is somebody that you just can't resist, because she's so full of energy and she loves to dance. So, I get roped in, and usually after a few drinks, I'm more confident out there with my white self.
Oh man, no, you guys looked like you're having a great time though, and that's all that matters. Nikki loves to dance too, so I gotta try and keep up with her as well. And after the first one, I was like, oh, I can't breathe. So
yeah, the whole thing was amazing, man, and it was great, like you said, to watch them renew their vows, and it was more than just a reception, really. In retrospect, it was a full out wedding. It was like the wedding that they had last year never even happened. This was like the big one.
Yeah, it absolutely felt like this was what they were supposed to have had last year. So
yeah, no, it was great.
It was wonderful being a part of that. I'm glad to have been involved in that, and it was a good time, man. I'm very happy for them.
100%. And like you said, we don't get to be around all of our friends like that very often, especially in that kind of setting. So that was definitely a first for, I think, all of us, really, to be all in the same vicinity. I don't think anybody was really missing that I'm aware of.
No.
And to just, eat delicious food and dance and drink and, talk and be dressed up. I mean, man, can't ask for much more than that.
That's absolutely right, man. Well, we got a lot of gaming stuff to talk about. Where do you want to start, man? I have not had nearly enough time to play some video games, so I know you had a couple of topics. I'm going to be leaning on you a lot today, man.
Sure. Yeah, I think we've both been in the same boat. We've been pretty busy. So I've had less time, I think, to really just kind of hunker down and game.
Mm.
I've been on this Returnal hiatus because that game is just so difficult that I don't know if it's right for me at this very moment. So the last thing I was playing with was Demon Souls. And of course, I missed this past Sunday playing with Tom because of obvious reasons. I didn't get home until, I don't know, it was like later on in the morning. I think we left Long Island at about 8. So that Sunday we were just like resting and recuperating.
Mm.
But I did add a topic here, which was PS5 free upgrades.
Yeah.
Because I've always been curious as to what PS4 games are upgradable for free to PS5. And there's been quite a bit. And I looked at a list some time ago, and it wasn't as comprehensive as this one that I found at happymag.tv, a site that I've never heard of.
Yeah, me neither.
But I just Googled, PS4, to PS5 upgrades free or something like that. And I found this article, and I found it to be very, very comprehensive in terms of here's a full list of every available PS4 game that has a free PS5 upgrade. And for folks that are new to this, if you own a PS5, and even if you don't, apparently, I don't know who's kind of doing it. I don't know if it's Sony or if it's just the game developers are trying to figure out a way to kind of add more longevity to their games on the new console.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a long laundry list of games. I mean, we've got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, we've got Borderlands 3, I mean, Mortal Kombat 11, No Man's Sky. There's a ton of games on this list, and I'm still trying to figure out how to actually get the upgrade path. Like, do you just download the game and then it just automatically installs? And at the bottom of the article, it says the best way to check that you are playing the upgraded version of your game is by using the PlayStation Network. Log on and head to the PS Store. From here, check out your library of purchased games. If there is a PS5 upgrade available, you should see a notification on it. Now, I tried this method, and the only game that I could see that said free upgrade to PS5 or whatever was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Okay.
And I went through some of the other games that I own, like God of War, and it didn't give me any indication that there was an upgrade available. So I don't know if that's because the game is not installed on my hard drive or if that it doesn't need to be installed to find out. So I feel like it's a little bit jarbled still, where like I don't really know if there's a definitive way to find out how to obtain the upgrade or if it just kind of happens automatically. Maybe it's just hidden in an update. So for example, if I had God of War downloaded, like I downloaded it tonight, maybe I would be prompted for an update, and within that update, I would get the 60 FPS and 4K upgrade. I just don't really know.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to figure that part out.
Yeah, I mean, typically any upgrades are going to be like self-contained. So if there's a PS5 upgrade that increases the frame rate, it's not going to be a separate download from a PS5 upgrade that doesn't. Like, it's going to be one and the same. But a lot of these games, and this is on the Xbox as well too, they'll actually have a new setting within the game menus that tells you whether you want to have it in performance mode, high quality mode, or something to that effect. And that allows you to tweak, your frame rate and whether you're doing 120 FPS at 1080p, 60 FPS at 4K, and depending on what kind of TV you're plugged into, you may not even have the option. So, for example, my TV, I have a 4K television, but it's not capable of doing 120 frames per second. So whatever I want, as far as that goes, I can go in and try to change it, but the settings won't work. It's just not possible for my TV to output that.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, that it could be the fact that the games in the PS5 are detecting that it's not receiving a 4K transmission. So that could be why I'm not seeing any prompts. And with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, maybe there's something in there. I mean, the upgrade there is 60 FPS 4K. So typically when you look at this list, that's what you're getting. You're getting 60 FPS 4K at a minimum. And then in other cases, you're getting 120 and 60 and 4K.
Right.
And then there's other ones where it gives you four different things, like Control Ultimate Edition, you're getting 60 FPS, 4K, ray tracing, transferable save files, and DualSense features.
Mm.
And then other games, you're just getting 60 and 4K. So will I be able to take care of the 60 FPS part? Definitely. But I don't know if it's something that still might require 4K for that aspect of the 60 FPS to work, because there are other games that are 60 FPS out of the box on PS4. So I don't know. I have questions. I have to do some trial and error. I have to just try it on one of these games to see if I notice a difference.
Mm.
But I'm worried that the only way that I'm going to know is playing it side by side, like the old version and the new version. And if I get, say, Fallen Order, and I do get the 60 FPS, and of course not the 4K, I don't know if I'm going to notice right away. I mean, 60 FPS I feel like is pretty noticeable, but I also am not that familiar with that game, so I'm worried that maybe I wouldn't even really see these upgrades.
I think that's a valid point. You might need to dig in on a game by game basis to really know,
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to experience. Because when you're looking at a list like this, it's giving you the bare minimum information.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I can always fire up Fallen Order for you and go in the menus and take a look and see what it's like, because it's when they updated it for the PS5, they updated it for the Series X at the same time, so
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be essentially the same update. I would venture a guess that for the majority of these games, provided they're not exclusive to the PlayStation, it's going to be the same update.
Yeah, I was thinking that if I can't, because I plan on doing some more research on this, on like how to identify whether or not I have it and how to actually do it. If that becomes too much of a rabbit hole, I could try, say, installing The Last of Us Part 2, playing like literally 30 minutes of it,
Mm,
and then maybe, well, let's see, if there's an update that's prompted, right? Maybe I could ignore it,
mm,
try it for 30 minutes, then do the update, and then see if I can experience the DualSense, the 3D audio, and the 60 FPS. Well, the DualSense is a dead giveaway. So if I
right.
notice that on the upgrade, then I know that I'm getting at least part of the upgrade.
Mm.
I'm not getting 4K, obviously, and maybe I'm not getting 60 FPS, but the 3D audio and the DualSense, I should be able to notice.
I mean, if you have the choice, why not just do the upgrade anyhow, regardless of whether or not you'll notice it? Because at some point or another, if 6 months from now you decide you're ready to upgrade your television, then you're ready to go. You don't have to worry about anything. You
This is
just
true.
plug the PS5 in, and you're good to go. I can't imagine that it's going to be taking up more space. Usually these downloads replace the previous version.
Mm,
So
hmm.
you're not going to, unless there's something wonky going on that I don't really understand, you're not going to have the PS4 version and the PS5 version of these on your hard drive at the same time. It's going to be one or the other, I would think.
Right.
Right?
I would think so. I guess my theory there, or my thought process would be like, how do I identify the differences if I'm
Mm,
actually getting it or not? But
yeah.
like I said, I'd like to do more research. I just wish that Sony could just make it a little bit more transparent
Yeah.
and just say like, here's the upgrade, or like just find a way to make it a little bit more digestible, because right now I feel like it's a little bit gray
Mm,
in terms of whether or not you're getting it. Like there's no way of like knowing.
yeah. I mean, I've kind of talked about this in the past, and I'm not going to try to beat a dead horse with it, but with Xbox, they have one listing for the game for most of the games. It's a free upgrade if you have it. If you go in the store and you tell it to download the game on your S or your X, it'll automatically download the upgraded version. If you try and tell it to download it on your One or your One X, it'll download the original version. There's no confusion. It's all automatic. There are a couple exceptions. I think Control is actually one of them, because if you have the regular version of Control, you don't get the upgrade. You have to have the Ultimate Edition, which is kind of shitty.
Hmm.
And then I think one of the NBA games, NBA 2K, was not doing an upgrade for free. MLB The Show has a completely separate game. But the majority of games on the Xbox platform, it's one download, and the system figures it out automatically. And your saves are cross compatible. You don't have to do any kind of crazy jumping through hoops to try and get your save from one to the other. It's all self contained, and makes life a lot easier, man. I got to say, I'm ever just floored by the way Sony has handled this situation. And you're not the only one that's confused. Trust me. I've talked to a number of people, some people in our community, some in others, and they're just like, what the hell is going on? Why is it this complicated, you know?
Yeah, and it is, because I really thought to myself, like, am I just not getting this? And then when I
No.
listen to other podcasts and stuff, this is actually why I added these topics, because on Sacred Symbols, a podcast that I really enjoy, they were discussing some of this stuff, and they were also discussing the Ghost of Tsushima director's cut, which we're going to speak about in a moment. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what's going on here with the next topic, actually, which is really the Death Stranding director's cut. So we have two director's cuts coming out soon. One is Death Stranding, one is Ghost of Tsushima. So the deal with Death Stranding is, I'll pull up the link here. If you already own the PS4 version, which I do, I can upgrade to the director's cut for only $10.
Okay.
I think that's pretty great.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for the Ghost of Tsushima upgrade, I actually have to pull this up because it's that fucking complicated.
Oh, no.
Stand by.
Oh,
no. And mind you, before we get off the Death Stranding thing, if you don't own the PS4 version and you don't own the game at all, you can buy the director's cut at a lower price of $49.99, which is actually not bad. So they're not charging $60.
Right.
They're actually giving it to you for less. So I actually appreciate that for people that
Sure.
don't own it.
Yeah.
So there's that. So now we're going to pull up the very complicated situation with Ghost of Tsushima, and this is why this became a topic on Sacred Symbols, and I think probably some other podcasts as well. So let me get this information in front of me because it's a little confusing. So existing Ghost of Tsushima owners will be able to upgrade to the director's cut on PS4 for $19.99.
Okay.
Or upgrade to the director's cut on PS5 for $29.99. So that would mean for me, it would cost me $30 because I'd want to play it on the PS5. If I still had a PS4, it would cost me $20. Now, players who purchased a director's cut for PS4 will be able to upgrade to the director's cut on PS5 at any time for $10. And this is what is, I guess, pissing some people off. So that means that if you want to buy, like you have a PS4, you have the game, but you have the director's cut.
Okay.
And you want to then upgrade that to the PS5, you then have to pay $10. And the reason why this is causing issues is because the director's cut for PS4, I would imagine, and I don't think I even have that price. Wait, I think I do.
It's $59.99.
Yeah, so it's $60 plus another 10, so they can basically get, $70 out of you to play the director's cut. So I haven't had a lot of time to like really think about this, but I can understand where I think people are getting a little confused and also a little bit pissed because they're saying, all right, so now I'm paying $60 for a game that's old,
right,
for the PS5.
Well,
or actually, no, they're paying $70.
So I mean, yeah, like I see the PS5 version is like the director's cut for the PS5 is $70. If you buy the PS4 version and you want to upgrade it, so you're essentially paying the same price. It's going to be $70. So either way, they're looking to get $70 out of you to play it on the PS5.
Yeah.
Or you could just stick with the version that you have and upgrade it for free.
I think I just figured it out. The reason why I think people are probably getting pissed is because they're seeing it from a perspective of, well, I'm going to buy this on an old gen console for less, for $10 less. So I think that it should stay at that point is probably
Right.
what they're thinking, instead of paying the additional 10. And here's where it gets more complex. They're now looking at, well, what is the additional $10 for? And we're finding out that I guess the enhancements are going to be 3D audio, as well as some other things like 60 FPS targeted, improved load times, and then I guess 4K resolution. So I haven't done a lot of research on some of this other stuff. Like I guess there's this new lip sync for Japanese voiceover, and on Sacred Symbols they were saying that it's not really Japanese voiceover. It's more of like a CGI or like a computer lip sync. So it's not like they redid it.
Hmm.
And I guess what's happening here is people are trying to kind of pick this apart a little bit and justify that extra $10.
So I mean, people are trying to basically pay less for the game than the devs are asking. Like they're trying to find a way to get around paying for it for the asking price.
Yeah, I guess they're thinking,
And
well, if
they're upset that they can't get what they want. That's why you.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, like I listened to that segment of the show and I was like, all right, I see some points here. Have I had a lot of time to really sit on this and meditate on it? No. But I guess I can kind of see the point of like, well, if you buy it on last gen, then the upgrade should probably just be free because it's only like a $10 difference.
Right.
Instead of just like, I mean, I get the PS5 thing. Like if you own a PS5 and you want to buy this game, I guess I can understand the $70 thing because that seems to be like a new standard now. But if you're buying it on PS4, I feel like it's probably also not a terrible thing to just charge somebody 60. And if they want to upgrade to PS5, just fucking let them.
Right.
So I guess people are just trying to see like, why is there the paywall of $10? Does it really need to be there? And this is where I guess the guy Jason Connell, who heads up the marketing of this game, and I think he's also the director. Yeah, he is the art director, creative and art director, was saying the thing that I think is important for people to know is that those features that make it so specific to the PS5, we didn't just work on those as generic hardware upgrade. They are fully enveloped into the Iki expansion and Jin's experiences on Iki. They were really tightly connected to one another, so that's kind of the reason why we didn't look at them as kind of a separate. We really wanted those two to sing together, and that's the base reason why.
So what he's saying is, hey, we put a lot of effort into making these PS5 only features a part of the expansion and the game.
Mm-hmm.
And we want you to pay for that work that we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of my standpoint on it, right? Like, yes, am I bringing this in as a topic of conversation for the show?
Yeah.
Of course. And I understand what Sacred Symbols is saying, but like wholeheartedly thinking about it now and some of the time that I did think about it after I listened to that segment, I don't really see a huge problem in paying the 10. Do I see their point in like, yeah, you could probably upgrade for just free because you already paid 60 on PS4. I get that. But at the end of the day, when I read that statement from Jason, I'm like, all right. Me personally, I've never really been a big guy that will fight a paywall or fight a situation where I have to pay more money because I appreciate the hard work that goes into video games. I've never been a stickler about that kind of stuff.
Right.
Am I more of a stickler now about buying a game at a sale price? Yeah, but that's just because you and I have backlogs just like anybody else, and I really don't want to like potentially waste $60 on a game I might not play. So, but that's different. With this situation, it's $10 for a ton of new features, including an expansion. So, I kind of get it.
I mean, just as a point of reference, you bought this game on the PS4 when it was originally released. I think within the first few days, if not day one, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
$60. And I know you haven't really sat down with it and dove into it yet. You really haven't played much of it. So from my perspective, I think this is, if I own the PS4 version of the game in the same status that you have, this is what I would do. I would take the free upgrade in the meantime, and I would either play that and not worry about the PS5 upgrades, or I would just sit on it and just let it sit there and wait for the price to drop on the director's cut and buy that one. And then you would have all the upgrades for the PS5 and just play that version of the game.
Yeah, because if I want this day one, like I said, it's going to cost me 30. So that's probably the most expensive route that you could take because I've paid full price for this game already.
Right.
So you're right. I think the best scenario for somebody that already owns the game is you'd have to wait for the director's cut version to go on sale, then scoop that up, And man, the more I think about this, if you're buying the director's cut and you don't own the non-director's cut, you don't own the vanilla game,
Mm-hmm.
then why would you want to buy it for the PS4 to then upgrade it for the PS5? Like, I mean, I just don't really understand. Like, so if you're buying it for PS4, then you should really have like maybe no intentions on getting the PS5. Because if you do have intentions on getting the PS5, how about this? You don't buy the game. You get a you get a PS5, and then when you get the PS5, you just pay $70 for the game.
Right. Or you wait for a sale.
Or you wait for a sale.
Yeah.
So like the more, yeah, I mean, it's like the more I think about this, the more I think I'm making sense of it as we continue talking about it, because
Yeah.
it it's not that big of a deal. Yes, it's kind of confusing right now with like the upgrades and stuff, but like there's a smart way to do this. Just have some fucking patience.
Right.
Have some patience and wait. And I think a lot of gamers just would like to find a way to complain.
Yeah.
And that's no diss on Sacred Symbols. I mean, I think they make some great points, but it's just an opinion, and I don't know if it's really worth like holding a grudge about this. Like games are expensive. It's an expensive hobby. If this was a different situation where they're asking you to pay money for like something really shitty, then that's one thing. But there's options to
Right.
be had here. And I think that if with a little bit of patience, like you said, waiting for a sale and maybe just not buying this on PS4, especially if you're planning on getting a PS5, then that's the way to do it.
In our Twitch chat, Killer Sirach has made an excellent observation. Somebody could buy this for another person as a gift, wholly unaware of the upgrade paths. Can you imagine if you don't own this game at all, or maybe you own the wrong version and somebody buys you the upgrade without buying the original version of the game or whatever, and you just have two incompatible things and you're stuck with it if it's a digital download? Like, Sony doesn't really give refunds.
No. That's interesting.
They're making this shit too complicated, man. And it's not just Sony. It's not just Ghost of Tsushima. I think Control. We talked about it briefly with the last topic. I think Remedy really kind of fucked that up. They came out with this director's cut of Control that has the DLC mixed in, but the 4K upgrades for the next gen systems are included in that version, not the original version. And if you have the original version, your saves aren't compatible. There's all kinds of like shady shit going on with this because they just want to get an extra buck.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think I think that the fans are overreacting and misunderstanding what's happening here, but I also think that the devs really need to kind of pause and take a look. And just because there's a new system now doesn't mean your game has to have all these new features. Like,
I agree. I agree.
I think it's cool that they took the time and the effort to put all this stuff in it. But I mean, like, how far back are we going to go? Are they going to start putting out Twisted Metal 1 from the PlayStation 1 with dual sense controls?
I know.
Are they going to charge $60 for that pixelated game? Well,
that's just it, man. That's like the only argument or like that we can stand on in this debate is like, well, what are you really getting? Because if it is DualSense features, I mean, all right, that's cool, but I guess you would really have to appreciate them to appreciate that price tag. I mean, $10 is not a lot, but I guess it really just depends on what you're getting. And you're right. All of this is confusing. They've got to find a way to streamline it. And by having multiple versions of these games coming out, it becomes this mind game that we all go through where we say, well, I guess I'm going to have to own all of them, right, or I have to decide which is the definitive version that I need to play. Right. And with Death Stranding, I made a very brave decision last night. I downloaded the game because I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm playing this goddamn game. I'm not waiting for the director's cut. I know it's only $10 to upgrade, but like, am I being impatient? No, I guess I'm just almost like revolting in the sense that there's a director's cut coming. Right. And I'd rather just be like, you know what? I fucking paid $60 for this game. I've never even really played it. Why should I now wait to pay $10 to play a game that I already own? And yes, it's coming with new features. I get it, but I don't know if it's really worth the $10 wait. I'd rather just play the goddamn game. And I think there's a part of me that's protesting.
these sorts of things aren't anything new, but it takes on a different light with the 4K upgrades, the 60 or the 120 frames per second upgrades, you know, all these different things that are exclusive to the new systems. But if you think about it, director's cuts and like ultimate editions have been a thing for years. Control is a good example. Horizon Zero Dawn, you know, they released a version that comes with the DLC packed in. Spider-Man came out with a version that releases the DLC packed in. I'm trying to think of some other games that have done it, but they've been doing it for 20 years, you know. Ever since DLC was a thing, they've been finding ways to repackage that and resell it to people that didn't get it the first time around. Tomb Raider is another good example. You know, they came out with a definitive edition on the Xbox or whatever they called it. I can't remember the name. So it's like basically what it boils down to is this. If you need the game on day one, you buy it on day one. Mm-hmm. And if the DLC comes out, you either buy it on the digital store as it comes out for whatever price they charge you. You wait for a sale, or you buy it at full price. Or you just rebuy the game a second time with all the DLC packed in when they release their Ultimate Edition, Director's Cut Edition, whatever the fuck they want to call it edition. You know? Yeah. Like, because they're calling it a Director's Cut, but it's no different than calling it the Ultimate Edition or the Greatest Hits Edition or any of those things. It's just a different name, but they're doing the same thing that they've been doing for years. And they're using the PS5 and the Xbox Series X as an excuse to sell it for full price because now they're offering a better frame rate in addition to their DLC, or they're offering DualSense DualSense?
Yes.
DualSense controls, or, you know, haptic feedback on the triggers, or maybe the controller will wash the dishes for you. You know, like
yeah.
So as a consumer, we need to stop and take a step back and say to ourselves, which path are we going to take? And we need to start thinking about this early on. You know,
we do. We have to be smarter about how we are as consumers. I think you make a great point. You know, I think what they're doing, like bringing these older games into this realm of PS5 and even Xbox Series X, I think that's great. You know, I don't have any complaints about it, but from that consumer perspective, we have to start being smarter with, you know, what upgrade paths are we going to actually partake in? And is it really worth it? And challenge it a little bit, you know, give them a little bit of pushback. Not to say that what they're doing is completely wrong. It's just in order to avoid that stress, we have to think more carefully. And if you really want to avoid it altogether, you made that point of just saying, well, I'm going to wait and not buy games day one. And that is like probably the smartest thing you could ever do to avoid all of this is you don't ever buy a game on day one. You wait.
Right.
You wait because it's either going to go on sale or that other edition will come out eventually, and then you buy it then. And if you want to go even further, you wait for that one to go on sale.
Right.
I mean, at that rate, you're probably not going to be playing a lot of games.
Yeah, well,
you're waiting all the time.
But then you're playing your backlog. You know, like
you're playing your backlog.
Like, and those games will become part of your backlog as you get to them. You know, there's an endless supply of games to play, and whether you buy the game on day one or you buy the game 6 months or a year from now, it's still gonna be. It's still going to be there. It's still going to be the same game. The only games that, in my opinion, you ever need to buy day one are multiplayer games because the community moves on, right? But if it's something that's story driven, who cares? Who cares? You know?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I can play Red Dead Redemption 2 whenever the fuck I want.
Right.
It's not going anywhere. I paid full price for it. If there's a definitive edition coming, it's unlikely I would ever get it.
Right.
And if I did, I'd probably wait for a sale.
Killer Sirach made a it's kind of a joke, but kind of true. I don't know what to call it. He said GTA 5 for the PS5 with DualSense and full priced. And dude, you are spot on, man. I can't believe that game is still being republished over and over and over again. And I can't believe
it's unbelievable.
Still making the money it's making.
It is. Dude, I played that game. Oh my God. I think it was on PS4, but it was forever ago. It was forever ago. It was like 2013, 2014. It's 2015 probably latest.
2013.
And yeah, and I remember Tom talked me into getting it. I didn't like it. I don't know why the fuck I did it because those games are not for me. But I mean, that was a long time ago, dude. 2013,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 2021. This game is still, leaving a legacy, and it's a living and breathing one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's great. It's rare to see that kind of longevity in a game, with the exception of things like Battlefield and Destiny 2 and things like that. But my God,
Yeah.
it's incredible. And I think that they know that people will just eat it up too. They could just
Mm-hmm.
come out with like GTA 5, 60 FPS, 4K, PS5 edition, blah, 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 and probably still get away with charging $70 for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And people would still buy it.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think, but you're absolutely right, man. I mean, if they're still putting out DLC for it and presenting it that way, like that totally makes sense to me because then you have a choice of whether or not you want to invest in it. $15
Hmm.
to add this on, but reselling the game for full price on the different platforms, I think is a little excessive. And I don't know if the DLC carries over. I that's a whole world that I have not dug into. So I don't want to speak out of line when I don't have the facts with that, but
Hmm. Hmm.
um, it's just. I don't know, man. This is a very interesting time, I think, for gamers, and you know, we have social media where we can directly interact with these developers, and sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's ignored. The best way to speak your mind is with your wallet, and if you support these types of things, buy the game day one for full price, go for it. If you don't, wait for a sale, or better yet, maybe just skip it.
Hmm.
A lot of times the DLC for these games isn't that great. Sometimes it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's all bad, but a lot of times it's completely skippable. And it's not necessary to dump another 10, 20, $30 into that game unless you are absolutely infatuated with it. For me personally, I would rather play the core game and focus on that story from beginning to end, thoroughly enjoying it, and then move on to another game completely rather than spend another 10, 20, 30 hours in the same world when I barely could spend the original 30, 40 hours I did, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
So I'm looking for smaller, more concise experiences and things that are going to just knock my socks off. And sometimes that little bit of DLC to extend the game a little bit isn't worth it. You know what was great DLC? Was the DLC in The Last of Us Part 1.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God.
That was what, like 3, 4 hours maybe tops? No, not even. Like that
It was
was,
so quality.
it was so short and it was so tight and it was perfect.
I think
I
we
would
had
pay,
it for free too, didn't we?
well, it came with the remastered version.
That's right. Yeah.
I think it was originally a charged DLC on the PS3,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
you know. But again, I got my remastered version for $20 on PS4. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't pay full price for that.
Yeah, it's like one of our biggest topics on the show has always been how do you manage a backlog, and it just makes me think of it, kind of goes hand in hand with this, where I feel like a good way to end this is to say, if you want to play a game, play it.
Mm.
And if when it comes to director's cuts and different editions, don't feel like you have to wait. If you already own the game and you want to play it now and the DLC doesn't come out for another 2 months or the director's edition doesn't come out for another three, just play the game. Don't let these paywalls, don't let these, additional upgrades make you think you have to wait. If you want to wait and buy it, go for it. I don't see a problem either, but I'm just saying that I don't think it should stress people out, and I think that it does.
Yeah. I think that's well
Including
said.
myself. Including myself, because I literally sat there and I was like, wait, should I play Death Stranding now or should I wait for the director's edition?
Yeah.
And I'm coming to terms now with what is happening, and I'm saying, no, I'm going to play the game now.
I like it. Well said.
Tell me about the Ascent.
Well, I haven't had too much time with it, but so far pretty freaking cool, man. I played about an hour of the game today. It came out on Friday, but I was out of town, so I haven't had much of an opportunity to fire it up until today. And it's an isometric kind of dual stick shooter, basically, is what it boils down to. You're playing as a character unnamed in a cyberpunk esque city, right? It kind of reminds me of like Blade Runner, Cyberpunk 2077, that sort of thing. You have a top down isometric view, and your character is basically a slave. For all intents and purposes, they're indentured servants. They have a place to live, but they live in squalor. It's kind of a shithole. They have to do what they're told. And the first mission that you get into, which also kind of doubles as a tutorial, basically has you going into a waste extraction facility and fixing the computer so that it works properly. Somebody is bitching and moaning that the toilets are overflowing, and you have to go and fix it. So you're going through these dingy corridors, rats, dirt everywhere. The environment is just like oozing with like attention to detail, right? Everything just looks worn, industrial, like shit. And like it's like everything is basically held together by duct tape.
We talked about this game at one point, didn't we?
They had announced this on the Game Awards, and I think it was the Game Awards, and then E3. So I've had my eyes on this for a little while. I'm sure we've talked about this at one point or another on the show.
The universe looks familiar. I'm watching a video right now, and this looks like something that we had mentioned.
Yeah, I'm almost positive we had some footage of this rolling during one of our previous episodes. This has been on my radar for a little bit. But basically what's happening is, you know, you're given directions to go to point A, point B, point C, whatever, and you're using the left stick to move, the right stick to aim, and then you use your triggers to shoot. And I'm at the point right now in the game where I've acquired two different weapons. One of them is a handgun. The other is like a submachine gun. Infinite ammo, thankfully. And, you know, as you're going along, trying to get from, you know, point to point to point in the level, there are enemies that are coming out and attacking you. And what the hell did they call them? Ferals. Like feral cats kind of thing. They're basically, as far as I could tell, robots that just went apeshit and started attacking people. I'm not entirely sure yet what they are, but you know, you're dealing those and you're trying to get from one point to another. And as you're going, you're building up experience. You're picking up cash. You're unlocking new abilities, and eventually you get a grenade that you could throw, and then eventually you get an upgrade for. What the hell did they call it? It's like a punch, right? It's like a close range thing, but eventually, my understanding is I could replace that ability with some other abilities, which I have yet to unlock.
Okay.
And you know, the combat is a little fluid. They do give you some options to kind of be liberal with the aiming. So because it's a dual stick shooter, you know, you're using your analog stick to aim, and maybe things aren't quite lined up the way they need to be. And I don't know if that's a fault of me, the controller, or the game itself. I've always found that the shooting in like Geometry Wars was extremely accurate, and it's the same kind of method. So I'm not sure really what's going on here, but I've always felt like the Series X controller has some issues with accuracy when it comes to the analog sticks. Like it's a little floaty. So I need to kind of look into that and see if other people have had the same experience. Regardless, so far it's been pretty fun. I've enjoyed the game. The atmosphere is incredible. I mean, like you feel like this is just the last stop in the universe, and nobody wants to be there, but the people that are there have no choice. They're not getting out. They can't go home. They can't pay their bills, and they're just biding their time until they either make enough money to buy themselves free, or they're dead. You know, or they die first. I just finished the first mission, and I came to like the city area, and there's just people everywhere walking around. Just feels very vibrant and realistic. or as realistic as science fiction can be. And it has some very satisfying moments. That punch special move that I was talking about. There's
Hmm.
something about the animation with that. Like, I'm surrounded by these ferals and they go to attack me, and I just lay right into them, bam, punch them, and there's like this like explosion around my character, and the enemies get thrown back, and it just feels very satisfying. Voice acting for some of the characters is pretty cool. You do encounter a few people, and they either talk to you in person or over the radio. The script is clever so far. Again, haven't gotten too deep into it, but I've enjoyed what I've heard thus far. And the cool thing about it is this does have a co-op mode as well too. So I believe you can do up to 4 people at a time. I'm
Ooh.
not sure how that plays out. Whether you're running missions or if it's just a randomly generated dungeon or what the case is. I need to investigate that some more. But it's pretty cool, man. I'm enjoying it so far. I've seen some reviews for the game. People are giving it like above average reviews, but not like stellar reviews. So I think for a lot of people, this has kind of fallen slightly flatter than expected. But I'm okay with a game that's like a 7 out of 10. It doesn't need to be a 9 or 10 out of 10 for me.
Well, I can tell you right now, from the perspective and the topic of the universe itself, I mean, I would give this a 10 out of 10. I mean, I've been watching gameplay this whole time, and I think it looks pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, the graphics in this game for an isometric game are pretty stellar. There's a lot of reflections. There's a lot of lighting effects, and I couldn't tell you if it's got ray tracing in it, but it looks like it might. So, it looks damn good on my TV on the Series X.
Oh, I bet.
I haven't tried it on the One X yet. I may give that a shot at some point, but the game feels good. It looks good. The sound effects are pretty awesome. The music is solid. I think it's worth checking out, and it's on Game Pass, which I'm a big fan of that too. So it's a good fit for me. I'm looking forward to diving back into that world. Maybe tonight. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm intrigued. I feel like this could be sort of there might be a sort of redeeming aspect in this game in terms of the people that didn't like Cyberpunk, because I feel like this may have arrived at just the right time. I feel like this could give it a run for its money, honestly.
Well, I mean, there's similar environments but different experiences. This game has RPG elements in it. I don't know to what extent I'm going to be diving into those. I know my character is leveling up. I know I can unlock different weapons. I know I can upgrade some of those weapons. I know there are new abilities that I can acquire. There's armor that you can put on your character. And I believe there's a skill tree that I can get to as well, too. And these are all things that Cyberpunk has in abundance. But being a twin stick shooter versus a first person RPG, they're very different fundamental games. Aside from the aesthetics, they couldn't be more different, So I think
But maybe that's okay. Maybe if somebody wants a true cyberpunk experience, excluding the experience that you get with Cyberpunk 2077, if you just want to be in that universe, maybe this is the right way to do it.
yeah, I think there's something to be said for that. It certainly feels way more polished than Cyberpunk has.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I was able to get in the game without any bugs. I couldn't say that about Cyberpunk. I haven't.
Maybe that's what it is. You want a polished cyberpunk universe
Yeah.
experience. This is it.
Yep. Yeah. I don't have a lot more to say about the game, quite honestly, because I just haven't spent enough time with it. But so far I'm digging what I've seen, and I'm looking to get back into it, man. I still got Planet Alpha that I'd like to finish, but I'm really looking forward to spending more time with this one, and I'm willing to put Planet Alpha aside for a little bit to kind of spend some more time with this. Because I feel like with Planet Alpha, I've gotten the gist. Even if I haven't finished the game, I feel like I've pretty much experienced everything there is to experience in that game at this point.
Yeah, I'd like to see you play more of this, and I think what's nice about it is it seems to be a little bit more of a pick up and play game. Like, you don't have to be that invested. And generally speaking, I think with this style of sort of isometric gameplay and the fact that you're moving around as something that just seems a little less I don't know, personal, I guess,
Mm.
because you're sort of distant from it. I just feel like the overall experience is something that you could probably dip in and dip out of a little bit more easily.
It feels very arcade-like.
Yes, yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I was kind of aiming for there. And with
Mm-hmm.
God of War, as much as I want you to finish that game, you have to be invested in that story. You can't really put that game down for too long.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I still intend on circling back to that. Just it's been a struggle because like my game time has been limited, so like pick up and play stuff has been a little bit more accessible to me. I
Hmm.
think that's why I gravitated towards the show so well, because there was no story that I had to keep track of. I could be away from it for 2 weeks. I can come back, fire up a game, and you know, it's its own self-contained thing. It's not like this crazy like what did I do last time? Where was I?
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
mission am I on? No, you hit some fucking baseballs. Well, this one, it's kind of the same thing. They put a little green marker on the map and you go to it and you shoot whatever's in your way in the process and you open up some chests and you collect some cash and you get some new guns and blah blah blah. It's very straightforward and I appreciate the simplicity. There is a story. I don't know what it is yet, but it does seem like there will be more to it than just the bare essentials, or at least I'm hoping so. You know.
Yeah, it's very interesting just examining this gameplay and just the universe because it just reminds me of like Diablo and
Mm-hmm.
then Gauntlet Legends and then Dead Space and then Cyberpunk. And it's like all these different
Yeah.
games and sort of fusions that are happening. And I don't know, man, I kind of like it. And it's very stylistic too, even just like the sort of gun flare
Mm-hmm.
that you get from shooting the gun is just like it varies and there's a lot of attention to detail like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunately at this time it's only available on the Xbox and Windows platforms. So, you could probably if you get that Steam Deck, you'll have access to it. But
Hmm.
um but right now it looks like the Xbox is going to be your best way to play it. Um I think it's worth checking out, man.
Yeah, it seems fresh. It's nice to see something a little bit fresh.
Now there's something with the Game Pass edition that's missing, and I don't know if it's PC only or on the consoles as well too. But people are saying that the Game Pass version is missing ray tracing. I think it might be the PC version on Game Pass,
Mm.
but I don't know. I got to look into it a little bit more. But there's a lot of buzz about this game. A lot of people are talking about it. Kotaku's got some articles. PC Gamer has some articles talking about the game, and of course, everybody on YouTube is reviewing it as well too. Um, I think if you're curious and you have Game Pass, I think it's worth checking out. Beyond that, though, I really can't give much more of a rating or a review.
In good time, sir. In good time.
Yeah. So yeah, Killer Sirach in the chat says now is your chance to get an Xbox.
Pipe down. Pipe it down.
$299, man. Xbox Series S. Killer Sirach just bought an Xbox, and he is converted. So
Ah.
yeah, he told me that Sony sucks and that you suck for liking Sony, and
Oh my God.
no, he didn't say any of that stuff.
And well, I was about to say, well, I guess he's never coming on the show then. We were about to have you on, dude.
Oh god, nah,
That's too funny.
he's still a Sony fanboy, but I know he's been very excited about what's been happening on the Xbox, and Game Pass has been a real treat for him. So
They're doing a lot. That's great, man.
yeah.
They are doing a lot. That's great. It's really kind of, that's not even up for debate at this point.
I just hope that it's enough because there's still a segment of the video game community that is just like, well, I just don't care.
Hmm.
And I think that I don't know. I think I just need to come to terms with the fact that those people are never going to be converted. And like I'm not even asking for people to be converted. I'm just asking them to realize that there's more than one way of gaming, Like
There is.
like
There is.
everybody's like, "Well, why would I buy an Xbox if I could have a PlayStation and a PC as well?" And like, okay, fair enough, but you're missing out some good shit on the console too. But
Yeah,
anyway.
it's hard to get people to be a little bit more open to options. And I think when you have options on the table, like we generally always do, it's
Mm,
either Most people are choosing with a brand. It's either Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft, generally speaking. And then you get other gamers that just get all three,
Right.
So I think that those kind of debates and those opinions will always exist. And
Yeah.
is that good for the community? Yeah, because it creates good discussions and good opinions. But sometimes it does put barriers up in people's minds where they think, well, I'm loyal to Sony, so that's the only way I can go. And as much as I feel that way sometimes, I'm always willing to give something else a chance.
Right.
I've never closed the door on Xbox,
Right.
but I have more of a reason to invest more time and sort of energy into what they're doing, because what they're doing is something that is like hard to ignore,
Right.
you know?
And I for somebody like you that has a very minimalistic lifestyle, I think Game Pass is a godsend.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because you never have to buy a game. As long as you don't mind essentially renting your games, you never have to buy one.
I'm kind of into that, man. I'm kind of into that.
And then, if you wanted to buy a game, that was on Game Pass that's leaving, you get a discount. And Xbox has, just as many sales as Sony has. So you could buy those games digitally for cheap as well, But anyway, that's a podcast for another podcast. So
Fair enough.
Oh man.
Well, great discussions tonight, man.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where everybody kind of lands with the Ghost of Tsushima stuff, and the Death Stranding as well too. And I'm excited that you're finally playing Death Stranding. I know like you are like Kojima super fan number one, and when you picked that game up and then never touched it, I was a little baffled. So I'm excited to hear more about your experience with this game.
Yeah, I'm excited for next Monday because I will definitely have a lot to say. I plan on playing it this week, and what kind of triggered it is there's this dude that I follow on YouTube that does these extraordinary hiking videos where he hikes all over the world and films himself doing it. And I tuned into his new podcast, and somebody in the comments on Twitch asked him if he had ever played the game, and they kind of called it like a hiking simulator. And sometimes, again, we talked about this on the show, all it takes is one person to say one thing a certain way, and sometimes for me, it's enough to finally say, you know what, it's time. And when I read that comment, I was like, you know what, I love his videos. I love the idea of hiking all over the world. I love the idea that you're in sort of solitude in this game, just walking around. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time that I play this game.
Motivation at its finest.
And it's trending. It's trending with the director's cut. So I was like, you know what? I'm kind of at this weird spot where I'm like kind of doing Demon Souls a little bit on the side. I'm taking a break with Returnal. I've played Astro's Playroom to death. What's kind of next in the mix for Will? Where do I stray off? And I think this is going to be it. So I owe it to myself. Being like you said, the Kojima fan that I am. It's I'm ready. I'm ready, Drew.
In the words of big fan of the show, Jimmy Fitch, this game is in the cultural zeitgeist.
Props to Jimmy. Man, I love that dude, and I don't even know him that well.
He's a great dude, man. I'm looking forward to having him back on the show too.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that you just like him a lot. It doesn't take long to like him.
He's a pretty likable guy.
Yes.
Well, that's enough of the Jimmy Fitch Love Fest. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Thanks everybody in our Twitch room. We really appreciate you guys. Shout out to our Patreon supporters, Nick Naylor, Shannon Willis, and Keith Salinger. Thank you so much for supporting us each and every month. We really appreciate it. If you'd like to be a Patreon producer as well, head on over to patreon.com/WDGR podcast. It's $5 a month. You get access to a Discord room exclusive to Patreon supporters, Patreon exclusive episodes, including movie reviews based on video games, weird random discussions about guitarists, photos, notes, all kinds of crazy stuff. And we're constantly adding new things and new ideas to the mix all the time. Of course, you can check us out on the web at WDGRpodcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. And come on by our Discord room, too. We have a wonderful community of gamers that love to talk about all kinds of stuff. They share pictures of their food. They share pictures of their cats and dogs. They talk about games. It's a wonderful place to be. We'd love to have you there. Please swing on by, say hello. Will, how can we hear your tunes?
SoundCloud.com/Will_Gear.
And you can find me on Twitter at ScionStorm. That's going to do it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See ya.